things to add.
Yeah, and it's, you know, there are small victories, right? I don't want to say it's just because of the Yo Soy Testigo campaign, but we have seen the way that Border Patrol, ICE, and the police are collaborating. It's been altering. So for a while they were doing regular Friday, Saturday night traffic stops. They would be drunk driving stops, right? These are happening in a lot of areas in the country. Specifically right now we're hearing a lot about these happening in North Carolina. But they would, you know, post up on really major streets in South Tucson, Latino communities. It would be Ajo Way, it would be one of these major areas. And they would just wait. They would actually have their tow car that they're already working with on hand waiting because they knew they were getting ready to deport people. They would have it waiting, and they would have the police, Border Patrol around the corner and stop people, and, you know, on the claim of we're seeing about drunk driving in the area, ask for identification, call them, and deport people. We had strong responses from the community for a long time, and that stopped. It doesn't mean things have necessarily gotten better, but I do think it shows that these efforts are being seen, and there is pressure coming back. And at least at that point, a lot of the denial was just blown out of the water, and it was put all over the media. And there were some really good articles that documented what was happening in South Tucson. Right now, we're still seeing work raids, we're still seeing raids in houses, but it's not happening, at least directly, every Friday and Saturday night the way it was before. I just wanted to give that anecdotally to say that, you know, at least on a smaller level, there are victories, and we are seeing the police and different agencies alter when we respond. So that's showing we're doing something right.
Yeah, and I guess another thing that is done is laid the groundwork for a campaign specifically targeting police discretion, because like in Tucson, we can't, for example, do a campaign against the 287G law because we don't have one. But now that the extent of the collaboration between police and Border Patrol has been revealed, a number of people are having conversations about what it would mean to have a campaign directly targeting police discretion and making it so that these things can be happening.
So I want to go through, and none of this is giving credit to what these organizations are really doing, but because it will be so brief. One thing specifically that started last summer was a campaign called We Reject Racism. Core to this campaign was we needed to, like, the goal of normalizing noncompliance and making visible resistance the norm around Arizona. Specifically, one of the things that we were trying to do by that was to stop self-deportation, right? So a lot of what SB 1070 did was get the hype up for good and for bad, right? We get people thinking about these issues that were already happening, like we said, but you also get the hype up on the other end, and you get a lot of the hateful white supremacists that spring up, and you also get people who are afraid, with good reason, and start to leave themselves. And so to counter that, we wanted to try to make just the climate friendlier, and the climate, like, retake the climate in Arizona, right? So that was done through a number of things to normalize noncompliance and to make resistance visible. Some of them sound small, but I think they were actually incredibly effective. One of them was a banner that we put up in stores that would commit to noncompliance with these laws that say we reject racism, human rights respected here, and it has a circle with the shape of 1070 crossed out. It's in English on one side, Spanish on the other. Not only were like thousands of individuals in accordance with this, but tons of businesses all around Tucson. So that was really good in changing that climate and making people feel at least safer, and knowing who was supporting them, and knowing that they weren't just in an area full of hateful bigots, right? And then beyond that, it did send a message. It did send a message that, and as far as I know, push has never come to shove, but these businesses said we do not comply. Making an act that generally, you know, like we mentioned before, you have few people willing to do. You delegate some of the most radical actions to the anarchists, right? Trying to make that normal. Make it common for people to say, we're not going to comply with your laws. And that's basically the push of that campaign. Normalize noncompliance, normalize resistance, even at the very basic level of the words that you say and committing that you won't. At least that makes it more conducive for more people to stand up in resistance. There's a lot more to the We Reject Racism campaign. There have been a number of actions. We've mentioned some of them, but they've also been key in some of the big protests that have happened. But besides that, anti-deportation campaigns, these are very interesting and are starting to spread across the country. Department of Homeland Security has a policy right now, an unofficial policy, off-the-books policy, that they cave when they have enough pressure come on them for any specific case. They don't do this if there's still a legal outlet, right? We have some really smart lawyers who know about the system and how it works. and basically exhaust every legal outlet option with a number of individuals until there aren't any others, because if there are any, Department of Homeland Security will say, no, we're going to deport them, you could have done this legally. So we have these lawyers who exhaust every legal option, and then we launch a campaign for a certain individual. Most recently, it was a woman named Araceli. We're getting ready this week or next to launch another one, which we'd love to let you know about when we find out. And those consist of press releases. Those consist of short documentaries being made about these individuals' lives, showing the world who they are and how their family's going to be destroyed. Araceli was pregnant. Araceli had an awesome daughter, Giselle, that she was going to get stripped away from, right? We show these things to the world, and we get people to flood the phone lines and different Department of Homeland Security offices and basically demand that these people get a stay of deportation. And a stay of deportation isn't a solution, it just means they get to stay for a year and reapply. But at least in one sense, I think these campaigns are very effective, tangibly for the individuals they keep with their families, but also for just community building and getting people to have a specific face on the issue, a face on deportation, and to organize and rally around other fights. They've been really important. Another, like I said, small victories in the face of 400,000 being deported. One here and there doesn't sound like a lot, but for that person, it's their life, right? So those have been really important campaigns that are still happening. Protection networks, those consist of a number of ways for individuals to defend themselves from the police, from the possibility of deportation. A number of groups are doing those types of protection network organizing in South Tucson, specifically Tierra y Libertad and Corazon de Tucson. One way that myself, and some other people in our house and some other friends we have, what we do, living in a community where in Tucson, I live in Dunbar Spring, it's, I would say, less effective. I think we're all affected by this, but we're less effective. Also, I come from an extremely privileged background, right? And I'm not affected as much, to even near as much, by these laws. So it wouldn't be right for us to go in and organize in certain communities. One way that we've collaborated is by providing things like childcare. So organizers in Latino communities in Tucson have requested that we start a child care collective so we can encourage more families to get involved in the organizing, and we can that also has strengthened the fabric between different communities and different backgrounds, different life experiences, right? So that's something I really like that's been going on there. Taking care of basic needs, helping out so people have their kids taken care of so they can have time to talk, to organize with their neighbors, to decide how they're going to resist and how they're going to respond. Unido's amazing group of high school kids fighting for their ethnic studies program. We have a really great day labor center that's pretty new in Tucson. They've been doing a lot of organizing. This is just the surface. These are groups that we know about, that we at least are involved with to some degree or another and feel comfortable speaking to. There's a lot more. Again, I don't want to purport to be covering all of the amazing organizing that's happening in the area, but here's a few of them. Should we transition into this? You want to say anything about the community groups next? No? Okay. So on the No More Deaths end, I guess we'll cover a couple more things that happen. We do work in Nogales, meaning Mexico, Agua Prieta, Mexico. This is all in Sonora, where people have been deported. We've been in Naco. That center just got shut down, though, because people have stopped getting deported there. And we go and we provide aid and support for people who have been deported, meaning food, water. We help with medical. We provide free phones so people can call their families. Many of these things are denied while people are in custody. You know, for a lot of people, it appeared that they were just kidnapped one day, which it actually is kidnapping by someone who legitimizes it, the state. But no one knows where they went. People get deported, they get detained, they're never granted phone access, and the families don't know. And then you get to Mexico and you have no money, and it's a really hard thing to even get a hold of a phone to call your family. So that's actually has become one of the most crucial things I think we do, is getting free phone access for individuals who've just been deported. We also do abuse documentation while we're there, and that most notably culminated in us publishing a piece called Crossing the Line in 2008 that revealed a lot of the systematic abuses of these different agencies. We're getting ready to publish another one. We're working on it right now. We're almost done, so I'm really excited about that. This one is going to cover a much wider sphere of abuse. Now, we do this not to just target the government. We do a couple of things, right? We exhaust the legal outlets. I personally have no faith in the complaint process that we actually created. No More Deaths created the complaint form for a couple of these agencies because one didn't exist. Now they have one because we made it for them. They take it, do nothing with it. So we exhaust that so we can show, at least in our report, we filed this many official complaints. We put this out and we give it to a number of people across the country, and we try to get a lot of buzz around it.